Viewer discretion is advised.
Mickey Arison is the son of Ted Arison, who built the Carnival Cruise empire. Mickey's son Nick is the CEO of the Heat. I see nepotism doesn't run in this family at all. Arison is also a college dropout, unlike the man who delivered him 2 championships. Can't drop out of college if you don't go. Miami Heat. Once the lightning rod of roasting ire, much hate for this team has died down since the Messiah took his talents back to Cleveland. You blew a big series to the Knicks in 1999 because of this ridiculous fight. You were bad for a long time when Ronnie Cycli and baby Jordan Harold Miner were your best players. And with LeBron defecting and D-Wade moving on, it's pretty clear you sold your soul to the devil for 7 championships and got only 2.
Not 3, not 4, not 5, not 6, not 7.
Dear Miami Heat, something Gabrielle Union eats D-Wade's ass, signed Eric Spoelstra. And now for the worst blowout in NBA history. On a cold December night in Cleveland, a team with solid fundamentals destroyed a team that laid down like a Kardashian in the second half.
Get up.
At the break, the score was 73-53, and it wasn't quite a blowout yet. Then the Cavs hit 3 baskets in a row and were on fire, outscoring the Heat 75-27, a 48-point gap. Every Cav scored at least 5 points, including Steve Kerr. Mark Price had the best stat line, 18 points, 11 assists, and 3 boards. Bimbo Coles went 0 for 8 from the field and committed 7 turnovers. The Heat and the Cavs would make the playoffs, and both of these teams got beat by MJ and the Bulls. Bron ended up playing for both of these squads. None of this has anything to do with the fact that a team got beat down by 68 points. I guess they forgot to plug in their controller. Can you feel the burn? Our first "what in the hell is that" mascot comes in the form of a creature that has a basketball for a nose. Bernie starred in several Bugs Bunny cartoons before he put on a few pounds and had rhinoplasty to become the Heat mascot, a giant flame. Rumor has it that there is a sequel in the works called Weekend at Bernie's 4, where it's just a film of a crematorium, kind of like the Heat after LeBron left. Well, would you look at that? Another arena named after the shitty airline. Remember when arenas were named after people or a town? I'm sure the executives at the company had a nice JO sesh when the Mavericks played the Heat in the finals in 2006 and 2011 in an All-American Airlines arena/center self-gratifying orgy. The stadium is located right on Biscayne Bay, and it's probably easier to get there by boat. Though cleared of tampering with LeBron, even after Dan Gilbert hired investigators to prove it, Miami has cheated on the court too. In the 90s, the Knicks and the Heat were bitter rivals, and things got physical. Such was the case in 1997 when P.J. Brown hip-tossed Charlie Ward and set off a brawl in a brilliant stroke of cheating. Knowing the Knicks would leave their bench, which is an automatic suspension, Brown cleared the way for the Heat to come back from a 3-1 deficit, as 5 Knicks were suspended for the last 2 games, while only Brown sat for the Heat. Nice move, Dick. A squad that thrives almost exclusively on teamwork, chemistry, and leadership made the perfect move last offseason. Signing Jimmy Butler. How about getting roasted by Dan Gilbert for not taking a shortcut to the 2011 championship? Was that as bad as Mike Bibby was during those playoffs? How's things down there since LeBron left?
Bernie, Miami. I really like the basketball for a nose. That's a great touch. He looks really kid-friendly, but there's just something missing, and I can't really put my finger on it. Rating, 6 out of 10. Miami Heat, Dwayne Wade. I was torn on this choice, since if you ask me who the true best player in Heat history is, it's LeBron James. But Wade was drafted by the team, developed into a superstar with the team, won a ring and Finals MVP with them long before LeBron and Bosh showed up, then recruited LeBron and Bosh to win 2 more rings for the franchise. He holds a ton of team records and is the most famous player in franchise history. I loved watching Wade play, but he always came off as a little disingenuous disingenuous. Miami Heat, Michael Beasley. As somebody who watched Beasley at Kansas State, I have no idea how he didn't become a superstar in the NBA. He had all the tools to at least become a consistent 20 points per game scorer, but he just never put it all together. After being selected second overall in 2008, he had 2 meh seasons with Miami before being traded. A consistent pattern would then happen throughout Beasley's career. He would show flashes of brilliance in between long periods of terrible play. Miami even brought him back for a second stint in 2014 and 2015, but it didn't amount to anything. Disappointing he couldn't have a better Miami Heat. Guess what, Heat fans? Nobody gives a fuck about your Heat culture. We always hear about how Eric Spoelstra is such a great coach, and yet his offenses have almost always been below average outside of the LeBron years. Why is that? Is the he got that dog in him not a sound offensive strategy? You had a Game 7 at home to go back to the finals and blew it. Maybe if you didn't waste a roster spot on Udonis Haslam's corpse for the 10th straight year, you would have won. D. Wade had one great ref-aided playoff run in 2006, but after that never did anything in the playoffs without LeBron the rest of his career. Yes, LeBron choked in the 2011 finals, but Wade was even worse in the 2011 conference finals and 2014 NBA. LeBron James, Dwayne Wade, and Chris Bosh joined forces in July 2010. Everybody, especially LeBron, thought they were going to win rings together for the next 7 to 8 years. Turns out reality can be cruel. The Miami Big Three ended up only lasting 4 years together, in which time they won 2 championships and made 4 straight NBA Finals. While 2 rings and 4 finals appearances is certainly nothing to sneeze at, the Big Three Heat never became the destroyer of worlds many feared they would, especially in the playoffs. This video explains the biggest reasons why the Big Three Miami Heat didn't become a dynasty. Enjoy. Number 1, LeBron James. In 4 years with Miami, LeBron James won 2 MVPs, 2 Finals MVPs, was named First Team All-NBA all 4 times, and made All-Defense 4 times. He averaged an absurd 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 7 assists per game on otherworldly efficiency in the regular season, and 27 points, 8 rebounds, and 6 assists per game on great efficiency in the playoffs. LeBron's greatness is the biggest reason the Heat won 2 rings in his 4 years there, but he is also the biggest reason the team didn't add a 3rd ring to their collection. After powering the Heat to the 2011 finals with his stellar play on both ends in the first 3 rounds of the playoffs, LeBron completely and utterly shit all over himself in the 2011 finals. His points per game dropped almost 9 from the regular season. His field goal percentage, 3-point field goal percentage, free throw percentage, rebounds, assists, and turnovers per game all got worse as well, despite the fact that he played almost 5 more minutes than the regular season. He was also invisible in the fourth quarter all series long, shooting just 7 of 21 overall and 4 of 14 in the team's 4 losses. To make matters worse, Miami was still excruciatingly close to winning the series in 4 of 5 games. They had a fourth quarter lead in each of the first 5 games. They were able to win games 1 and 3 despite getting next to nothing from LeBron scoring-wise, but they blew a 15-point lead in the last 6:30 of Game 2, a 5-point lead in the last 7:24 of Game 4, and a 3-point lead in the last 3:38 of Game 5. In the fourth quarter of the 3 aforementioned losses, LeBron combined for just 4 points on 1 of 9 shooting, the one make being a garbage time basket down 108-101 with 30 seconds left in Game 5. Then in Game 6, LeBron had a plus-minus of -24 in a game Miami lost by 10. He played 40 minutes, which means in the 8 minutes he sat, Miami outscored Dallas by 14 points. Maybe in the long term, LeBron was better off for losing in 2011 as it forced him to reevaluate his game and improve, but the stink of this series will never completely go away, and there's a 2011 championship banner hanging in Dallas instead of Miami, largely because of him. Number 2, Chris Bosh was overrated. Remember, overrated doesn't mean bad, unless it's Tom Brady. One of the biggest myths people spew is that Chris Bosh was a superstar player in Toronto. And make no mistake, Bosh was a good player for the Dinosaurs. In his 7 years there, he averaged 20 points and 9 rebounds per game, making 5 All-Star teams, and even an All-NBA team in 2007. In 2010, his last year before going to South Beach, he averaged 24 and 11 on 52% shooting. But here's the thing, he literally never won shit. In 7 years with the Raptors, he led them to just 2 playoff appearances, 0 playoff series wins, and just 1 winning season. All in the same Eastern Conference, which LeBron haters call terrible. Quite simply, Bosh was a good stats, bad team guy, much like future LeBron teammate Kevin Love was in Minnesota. But everybody seemed to talk about him like he was a Kevin Durant caliber player when he joined Miami. This is not to say Bosh was terrible in Miami. Quite
quite the opposite, actually. He was a big part of their offensive spacing, and he averaged an efficient 17 points per game in the regular season, but his limitations were exposed in the playoffs, where he averaged 15 points and 7 rebounds per game. He was wildly inconsistent, even getting badly outplayed by Roy Hibbert in the 2013 Conference Finals, and scoring 0 points in Game 7 of the 2013 NBA Finals. He didn't offer much as a rebounder, next to nothing as a passer, and although he wasn't bad defensively, he certainly wasn't a Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett caliber player either. All in all, Bosh was billed as a star player who moved the needle, when in reality he was a solid third option who was prone to disappearing for long stretches of play, making life harder on Wade and, mostly, LeBron. Nothing personal though, he's a great guy and I thank him for all the hilarious memes he inspired over the years with his mannerisms. Number 3, the San Antonio Spurs. After coming within 1 rebound of dethroning the Heat in 2013, the Spurs came back in 2014 and took a 2 girls 1 cup-esque shit all over Miami in the finals. It's not that the Spurs getting revenge was something nobody could have predicted, but absolutely nobody predicted the complete destruction which took place. There was the infamous AC game in Game 1 where LeBron cramped up in the 4th quarter and the Spurs pounced to win. Miami then responded to steal home court advantage in Game 2. At this point, with the series tied 1-1, Miami actually looked in control. Then the Spurs proceeded to put on one of the finest displays of basketball the world has ever seen. Over the last 3 games of the series, as a team, they combined to shoot 54% overall, 45% from 3, with a true shooting percentage of 65.1%. In their 4 wins in the series, the Spurs had an effective field goal percentage of 63% and a true shooting percentage of 66.5%. For reference, the entire team shot the ball as well as Steph Curry did during his unanimous MVP season. The Spurs had far and away the most efficient shooting performance by any NBA champion in finals history. In less than a week's time, Miami had gone from being in the driver's seat to a three-peat to completely broken, and a few weeks later, once free agency started, LeBron left to go back to Cleveland. The 2014 Spurs were a great team, but their performance in the finals was unsustainably good, and for my money, there's no team in NBA history that could have kept up with them shooting so well for those 3 to 4 games. It's a make-or-miss league, and the Heat were denied another ring due to their opponent making shots at a historical level. Tough scene. Number 4, Dwayne Wade's knees. By far, the biggest reason Miami never became a dynasty wasn't a person or a team, it was the knees of one Dwayne Wade. The most annoying thing people do is pretend Wade from 2011 to 2014 was Finals MVP Wade or 2009 MVP candidate Wade. Here's the facts. Wade was still a superstar caliber player in 2011, averaging 26, 6, and 5 in the regular season, 25, 7, and 4 in the playoffs, and 27, 7, and 5 in the finals, a series where he would have won his second Finals MVP if not for LeBron's aforementioned choke job. But then Wade declined fast. 2012 to 2014, Wade was a shell of his best self, constantly needing his knee drained, constantly missing games, and just being maddeningly inconsistent. This is why even when Miami did win the championship in 2012 and 2013, it was a slog and nowhere near dominant. Across those 2 years, they faced elimination in 3 different playoff series, twice going down 3-2, before scraping by, largely thanks to LeBron. Wade had his moments, but Miami was actually better off without him on the court most of the time, especially against the Spurs in 2013, where Wade had a plus-minus of -54. The stats and eye test both showed this. By 2014, Wade was barely even all-star caliber, let alone a superstar. He missed 28 regular season games, and outside of a tiny 4-game window against Brooklyn and Indiana, he did almost nothing all postseason long. By the time the 2014 finals rolled around, Wade was getting rejected at the rim by Thiago Splitter. LeBron and Wade's games never really meshed well in a half-court setting. Both were slashers with inconsistent outside shots, but they were able to make the marriage work for the most part because they were so insanely talented. Had Wade been able to avoid the knee issues, Miami, at the very least, would have dominated at a much higher level than they actually did. It's not a coincidence they had a 27-game win streak in 2013 during one of the few times Wade was feeling good physically. Nowadays in retirement, Wade still attacks the rim, but in a very different way.